Someone is deeply in love with you right now, and it happened because of one quiet choice you made. Listen closely, because this matters more than you think. This message did not reach you by accident. You did not stop here for no reason. Something inside you slowed down and told you to stay, because somewhere in the background of your life, someone real is struggling with the space you left behind. Not because you chased them, not because you begged for answers or demanded love. It is because you stopped doing the one thing they thought you would do forever. You stopped giving and giving while forgetting yourself. You stopped making their comfort your daily job. You became still. You became calm. You stopped over-explaining your heart, and that silence changed everything. There was a moment, maybe small, maybe almost invisible, when you decided to place yourself first. You did not make a scene. You did not send a final speech. You did not try to wound them. You simply became tired of leaving yourself behind just to keep them close. And the moment you did that, something inside them broke open. They truly believed you would always be there, always understanding, always patient, always ready. They thought your love would wait forever. They treated your presence like something permanent, and when people think they can never lose you, they stop protecting what they have. They stop choosing you with care. They delay, they drift, they act like they can come back whenever they want. But then you changed. You stopped reminding them how much you cared. You stopped proving your loyalty. You stopped twisting yourself into a shape that could keep the bond alive. And suddenly your silence became louder than any argument ever could. Stay with me, because this is where everything turns. People do not always fall deepest when they feel in control. Sometimes they fall hardest when they realize they may have lost access to your heart for good. Right now, whether they say it or not, this person is replaying you in their mind, your laugh, your patience, the way you cared without counting, the way you stayed when leaving would have been easier. They remember that you saw them clearly, even the parts they kept hidden from everyone else. And the painful truth is simple. They did not fully see your value while you were there. They only felt it when your energy stopped reaching toward them. Even if they have not sent a message, even if they look fine on the outside, even if they post happy photos and act busy, they feel your absence. They carry it like weight. You were not just someone who cared, you were someone who understood them in a way very few people ever do. When a person loses someone who truly knows them, they do not only miss the relationship, they miss the version of themselves that existed in your love. That is why this cuts so deep. When someone is seen without judgment, old hidden parts of them rise to the surface. When that safe mirror disappears, they are left alone with themselves, and that is where the ache begins. You did something rare. You did not become cruel. You did not play games. You did not try to make them jealous. You simply stepped back with your dignity still whole. That kind of self-respect is powerful. It says everything without speaking. It tells the world you know your worth, even if someone else failed to recognize it in time. And when a person realizes they overlooked someone who truly knew their own value, it shakes them deeply. Late at night, they question themselves. In quiet moments, they wonder why they did not choose you when they had the chance. They wonder why they assumed you would wait forever. Their days feel a little flatter now. Their nights feel longer. They open their phone, think of your name, then stop. They revisit old conversations in their head. They wonder if you have already moved on. They wonder if there is still a way back. And that question will not leave them alone. But hear this part clearly, because many people misunderstand it. Just because someone is thinking about you all the time does not mean they have suddenly learned how to love you well. Feeling deeply is not the same as changing deeply. Missing you is not the same as being ready for you. A person can ache for your absence and still be emotionally unprepared to hold your heart with care. They can feel regret and still hesitate. They can long for you and still repeat the same old pattern if nothing inside them has truly grown. That is why this moment is not about rushing back. It is not about saving them from the discomfort they now feel. It is about recognizing the power of what you have already done. You showed them what real care looks like, not forced, not manipulative, not loud, just steady, genuine presence. And now, without you doing anything, they are sitting with the full weight of losing that. Silence does something that words often cannot. It removes distraction. It creates reflection. Distance brings sharp clarity. They now understand what your presence meant because it is no longer within reach. But if you break that space too early, if you run back just because their pain is pulling at your heart, they may never face themselves in the way they need to. This distance is doing work that your love alone could not do. This space is teaching what your patience tried to teach for a long time. And deep down, you already know this is not about punishment. It is about alignment. It is about things finally falling into their true place. The right person does not need to lose you to understand your worth. The right person chooses you while you are still standing there. The right person does not wait for fear to make love feel urgent. They see you, they value you, they act. If you have felt that strange pull lately, that quiet sense that someone is thinking about you, do not ignore it. Sometimes your heart notices shifts before your mind can explain them. Keep listening, because what feels invisible may be more real than you think. You may have felt their energy in small ways, a sudden memory, a dream that seemed too vivid, a feeling that came out of nowhere and stayed too long. That does not always mean you are meant to go back. It may simply mean the bond was real, and real bonds leave echoes. Not every meaningful connection is meant to continue in the same form forever. Some connections enter your life to wake something up in you. Some arrive to teach, to reveal, to push you toward the version of yourself you were avoiding. And when the lesson is complete, the shape of the connection must change. The pressure you feel now is not always a sign to return. Sometimes it is a sign to stay grounded while everything rearranges itself. The truth is, while you were present, they avoided growth. Your love softened the impact of their own choices. Your patience gave them room to delay. Your presence became a cushion between them and the truths they did not want to face. But now that cushion is gone, there is nowhere left for their discomfort to hide. If they come back, let it only be because they have changed in a real way, not because they are lonely, not because they are afraid, not because they suddenly hate the silence. Let it be because they are ready to choose with intention and show up with consistency. Anything less is just the same old cycle wearing a new mask. And if they never come back, then understand this without doubt. You were not too much. You were not hard to love. They were simply not ready for someone with your depth, your honesty, your capacity to care. There are people in this world whose growth will match yours. People whose emotional maturity will meet you where you stand. And when that happens, there will not be endless confusion. There will not be long stretches of mixed signals and waiting. What is happening now is not because you chased love harder. It is because you stopped chasing and remembered yourself. That is real power, quiet power, the kind nobody can fake. So do not give it away too fast. Stay with this message, because what comes next goes even deeper into why your absence has affected them so strongly. When you stepped back, you did more than remove your presence from their daily life. You removed the mirror they had quietly depended on. Your attention made them feel important. Your patience made them feel safe. Your steady care helped hold together parts of them they did not even know were fragile. So when you pulled your energy back, they did not just lose contact with you, they lost a kind of inner balance they had grown used to receiving through you. That is why their response has been emotional, not logical. At first they likely made excuses. They told themselves you were busy, that you needed time, that nothing had really changed. They reached for distraction, work, noise, people, activity. But distraction only works for so long. What was real between you had roots, and roots do not vanish just because someone tries not to look at them. Then confusion settled in. They began noticing your absence at strange times, right before sleep, in the middle of an ordinary day, in the silence after laughter faded, in the pause between one task and the next. Suddenly your absence was everywhere. They started noticing that nobody else created the same feeling you did. Nobody else brought that quiet sense of being understood. Without even meaning to, they began comparing new people to you. Not only because they miss you, but because they miss how they felt around you. You gave them a kind of calm they now cannot easily replace. That is why this feels so strong inside them. It is not just romance. It is the loss of something stabilizing. They return to old messages and memories because they are trying to find their way back to a version of themselves that felt more whole. And now they understand something that hurts their pride. You did not leave because you stopped caring. You stepped back because you finally cared for yourself with the same devotion you once gave them. That truth is hard for them to face, because your exit was not dramatic, it was dignified, and nothing unsettles a person more than realizing someone they undervalued is not only surviving without them, but becoming stronger. Now they are trying to figure out how to return without actually changing. This is important, so do not miss it. Sometimes a person will test the door before they do the inner work. A short message, a casual check-in, something light, almost harmless, just to see if they still have access to your energy. This is where your steadiness matters. If you rush in with full warmth, full relief, full excitement, you quietly teach them that your heart can still be reached without growth, without effort, without responsibility. But when you remain calm, slow, and centered, they are forced to sit with themselves. That discomfort may become the first honest mirror they have faced in a long time. Real growth often begins there, not in romance, not in promises, in discomfort. In the hard moment when a person realizes they can no longer blame the distance on your reactions, your emotions, your needs, they have to look at their own pattern. And that is not easy. You may feel the charge of all this too, sudden memories, strong waves of emotion, a strange pull that seems to arrive from nowhere. That can happen when a real bond is disrupted. But remember this, feeling a deep connection does not automatically mean reconnection is the healthy choice. Sometimes it simply means the loss is being processed on both sides. You are learning something powerful through this. You cannot carry another person's journey for them. You cannot heal their fear by sacrificing your peace. You cannot keep pouring into a place that does not know how to hold what you give. And now they are beginning to feel the full truth of that. Your love was never meant to be treated like an endless supply. It was meant to be honored. In stepping back, you are becoming stronger, because you are no longer shrinking yourself to stay close to someone who did not protect what you offered. And you are becoming more open too, because once you stop living in constant fear of rejection, something in you relaxes. You stop defending. You stop begging to be chosen. You begin to simply be. If you have felt that shift inside yourself lately, then you already know. A chapter is ending. Another is beginning. And no matter what they choose, something inside you has already changed for good. Even if they never return, the shift inside you is permanent. You are no longer the version of yourself that would bend, wait, explain, and overextend just to keep a fragile connection alive. You cannot go back to that blindness because now you see too clearly. You are learning that peace can feel unfamiliar at first when you have spent so long living inside emotional noise, when you stop reaching out, when you stop checking, when you stop building your day around what another person might or might not do. A strange quiet appears. And at first that quiet can feel empty, but it is not empty. It is space. It is truth. It is your own life returning to you. Your mind may still think of them. That is natural. Habits do not disappear overnight, but there is a difference now. You are no longer betraying yourself just to manage their feelings. You are no longer carrying a one-sided bond through effort alone. What remains, even if only in memory, is more honest now than before, because it is no longer held together by your constant labor. And honesty has more weight than effort ever will. Silence is not weakness. Silence is not passivity. It is often the strongest statement a person can make. It says, I will not continue doing all the emotional work for someone who never truly valued it. It says, I am no longer waiting for permission to matter. And people feel that change. They sense it even if you say nothing. They feel that you are no longer standing in the doorway of your own life, hoping someone else will finally choose you. That is why they are imagining what they could have done differently. That is why they are grieving not only you, but the version of themselves that existed when you were still there giving so much. You were woven into their inner world in ways they never fully noticed until the pattern changed. Now time feels heavy for them. For you, slowly, it begins to feel purposeful. You may still doubt yourself sometimes. You may wonder if you were too firm, too distant, too unwilling to keep trying. But return to this question every time. Did you step back to hurt them, or did you step back to stop hurting yourself? That answer matters, because real love should never make you feel smaller and smaller until you barely recognize yourself. You walked away from a place where your love was being received without the care it deserved. That is not failure, that is wisdom. It may not have looked dramatic. It may not have felt heroic. It may have felt sad, quiet, even lonely, but it was wisdom. By stepping back, you made one thing clear without needing a long speech. Access to your heart is not endless when your presence keeps being treated as secondary. If they can grow, this is the moment where growth becomes possible. And if they cannot, then this distance protects you from investing more into something that would only continue to drain you. The right outcome does not always feel like celebration. Sometimes it feels like grief, not grief for what was healthy, but grief for what you hoped it could become. That matters, because people often confuse sadness with mistake. They think if it hurts, it must have been wrong. But sometimes pain is simply the cost of telling the truth at last. You gave what you could. You stayed longer than many would have. You hoped harder than most people ever admit. And then one day, your own heart told you enough. That voice mattered. Boundaries are not revenge. They are clarity. They are a way of saying, if you value this, show it. If you mean it, live it. If you want access to something precious, act like it is precious. You are not responsible for managing the consequences of someone else's neglect. That part belongs to them. And while all of this unfolds, something deeper is happening within you. Your mind, your body, your emotional world are learning that love does not need anxiety to feel real. Love does not have to be confusing to be meaningful. Love does not have to leave you scanning every silence for danger. Once that lesson enters you fully, it changes everything. Even if they come back, you will not fit into the old pattern again. You have seen too much now. You understand too much now. You are in the space between who you were in that connection and who you are becoming because of it. That space may feel uncertain, but it is not empty, it is transformation. Fast, deep, unstoppable transformation. And whether they know it or not, they can feel it too. You no longer feel the need to study every sign, decode every delay, explain every mixed signal, or search for hidden meaning in every silence. Something in you is settling. You are beginning to trust what peace feels like. You are beginning to understand that not every bond can continue just because it was real. Some connections change you forever and still reach their limit, not because they were fake, but because both people were not ready in the same way at the same time. Accepting that is not defeat. It is freedom. They can sense now that you are no longer waiting in the same old place. You are moving, quietly, maybe, slowly, maybe, but forward. They understand that you did not step back to teach them a lesson, yet a lesson appeared anyway. What they do with it is no longer your responsibility. And that is one of the strongest shifts of all. Your path is no longer controlled by whether they recognize your value. Your worth is no longer hanging on their awareness. You are not defined by their timing, their fear, their confusion, or their inability to choose clearly. You are defined by the way you now see yourself. That is the change. You are no longer exhausting yourself trying to prove your lovability. You are asking a different question now. Is this love worthy of me? That question changes lives. It ends old cycles. It breaks old hunger. It opens a new standard. You are done writing excuses for people who only show up halfway. You are done confusing intensity with depth and struggle with destiny. If this has been speaking directly to something you have felt but could not put into words, stay with it, because this is not weakness, it is recognition. It is the part of you that always knew you deserved more finally stepping forward. The feeling in your chest is not foolishness, it is truth rising, and somewhere, the person who once thought your care would always be there is now meeting the reality of its absence. They are learning the hard way what your presence meant, but you do not need to rush toward that lesson. You do not need to interrupt it. Your only job now is to stay close to your own center. Hold the ground you fought to find. Let time reveal what is real. Let actions speak louder than longing. Let change prove itself. The version of you that waited, explained, gave more, hoped longer, and loved harder was never foolish. Let that sink in. That version of you was not weak. That version of you was not blind in some shameful way. That version of you simply loved fully. You do not enter love halfway. You do not care in small pieces. When your heart opens, it opens wide. For a long time, you poured that depth into someone who had not done the inner work needed to receive it. That does not reduce your worth. It reveals their unreadiness. Those are not the same thing, and the moment you stop mixing them together, everything changes. You are in that change now. It may not feel loud. It may not feel like victory. It may feel strange, unsettled, even quiet in a way you do not yet know how to trust. But that quiet is not loss. It is your foundation becoming solid again. The person who is thinking about you right now, the one replaying moments and feeling the weight of what slipped away, is encountering something real, not fantasy, not drama, truth. They are feeling what it means to lose access to someone who loved them with sincerity. And that cannot be manufactured. It cannot be forced. It cannot be solved with one emotional message. It has to be faced. And you, meanwhile, are being asked to face something too. Not their longing, your own becoming. The greatest change here is not that they miss you. It is that you finally stopped shrinking. You finally stopped letting someone else's limits define the size of your spirit. You finally returned to yourself. That is the deeper story. That is the real turning point. So if someone is deeply in love with you now, if they are haunted by your absence, if your silence has become louder in their heart than your words ever were, it is not because of some trick or strategy. It is because you remembered your worth. You returned to your center. You stopped pouring yourself into a place that could not hold you. That is power, quiet, steady, unshakable. And whatever happens next, do not give that power away for temporary comfort. Let what is true reveal itself, let what is false fall away, and let your life move toward the love that does not need to lose you before it knows your value.